community that was not pro-development. We were anti-development for a long period of time. We wanted to maintain our traditional lifestyle. We wanted to maintain our land, the integrity of our land. And at the end of the day, this community was devastated as a result of the anti-fur campaign. And then gradually, we came to recognize we had no other options to try out a new economy and develop a new economy of our own. Today, I think our community is benefiting from this oil sands development. But we do so because there is no other economic opportunities.
I think Fort McKay is in a pretty unique situation because of our involvement with the oil sands. I think that we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because if we weren't involved with the oil sands, we wouldn't be able to be self-sufficient and provide all of the things that we provide for our community members. If we had refused to participate in the oil sands, we would have become an island in the midst of development, and we would not be much farther than where we were in the 1980s. It's hard for me to look across the river and see a tailings pond when I grew up my whole life and all you saw were trees. Fort McKay had a really natural beauty to it, even though it was close to other oil sands developments, and it's harder to pretend that we're not surrounded by oil sands anymore because you can see it every day and you can hear it and you smell it. There's odors in the air. It's just really tangible now.
Oh, it's so, there's nothing black and white about what's happening up here at all. There's no denying that industry's arrival and the interaction and cooperation that communities have had with industry has brought about jobs, and socioeconomic circumstances have improved immensely. Probably baseline health has improved if you overlook some of the stuff. Definitely the good side of that. But Fort McKay, because of its proximity to Fort McMurray and Point South, development in the area, they've lost a lot of ground, a lot of land has been given up. The environment out there is tainted. The water, the air, the land itself, it's a constant presence. And even when all of those are relatively good, you can hear the cannons going off around the tailings ponds. So it looks like there's a battle going on somewhere. And it's also got a bit of the boomtown effect that Fort McMurray has suffered from for years and it's continuing to suffer from. So, from nothing to overwhelming material wealth relative to what was there before. So they're rapidly losing their ground, literally. They're losing their identity, losing touch with culture. Probably monetarily things will improve out there. But where does it end? There doesn't seem to be, government's certainly not on the side of people, that's for sure. So in the end, it's it's almost a choice, it seems to me, of do I die by starvation or by poisoning? Because if industry shuts down, I have nothing. But if they continue as they are, we're right in the middle of it.
I started working for Syncrude in 1977. I worked there for 35 years and actually raised my family down there. I got nothing bad to say about Syncrude. I raised my family in that there, made good money. But in another way too of looking at it is there's a bit of pollution that comes out of there. Like pretty well everybody knows. I don't know, I guess they're allowed to give out so many percent pollution per day, but there's good parts about it and there's bad parts about it. The bad part about it, I'd say, would be health problems for our people here, because we're pretty well surrounded with oil companies and that. Like, not just us. Everybody from Fort McKay used to sit in that in the Athabasca River, and the fish used to be good and stuff like that. Today, now I don't think you're even allowed to eat 2 fish per week. I mean, that's how bad the river is.
Simple is, as I said to my parents who were farmers, it's as if it stopped raining for 20 years at Edmonton. What would the farmers do? If the rain stopped because of something that was being developed, they'd just switch to that. development. That's what's happening here. It's as if the animals are all being wiped out permanently, the birds, fish, animals. This is an economy that depended heavily on birds, fish, and animals. People have no choice now but to adapt. And the easiest way to adapt is go to work driving a big piece of machinery so that your kids can have the money to have the option to do whatever they want in the future, but they won't ever be able to come back here and live the way their grandparents did. I suppose just like no farmer can go back and live the way his grandparents did. People tied to the land are forced to change as the land changes.
I love this place. You know, I love being out in the land. I love where I was born and raised. To me, it's a serenity, you know, when I go out into the Delta, you know. I love it. Sure, we're losing our kids to industry. I mean, it's thousands, you know, $80,000 starting wages. It's pretty hard to resist when you come out of high school with your grade 12 diploma. It's like a catch-22. You know, these kids have to work. There was a comment made by a friend of mine who said, you know, that someone said that he was helping to destroy the land, you know, by working at industry. And it made him feel sad. But he has to look after his family. He has to raise his family. And he doesn't have a choice.
So as Dene people, or Dene Tsuut'ina people, the name means like people of the land. And so for our people, we don't feel like we're separated from the environment, or the environment is something we need to protect, but rather the environment or the land is an extension of who we are. And so when you talk about like ripping up and all but destroying a large chunk and portion of the land, you are but destroying a portion of Dene people. And that's really how we feel. I'm not an idiot. I don't think that the tar sands, oil sands, whatever we want to call them, is going to get shut down tomorrow. And I also know that if it were to be shut down tomorrow, that there would be a lot of families that would go hungry, a lot of children that would go unclothed, and these people include people within my family. It is an economic venture that is vital to Alberta. The problem with the development is that it is being done at an irresponsible pace, and the scale is also irresponsible. It's the scale and pace of the development that is actually the most frightening. You know, I guess the one thing that I think is really hard is a lot of people say things like, well, come on, Native people, why don't you just move to the city like the rest of us and join modern society? It's not like you're out there hunting and fishing every day. And it's really this idea that places create identities, you know? People are like, I'm Irish, I'm Scottish, I'm Welsh, I'm English, and it's because their ancestries from England, their ancestries from Scotland, their ancestries from Ireland. These are actual places that identify who they are. When we talk about telling Native people to move to the city, we're asking them to abandon who they are, because once that place is gone, that person, that people who they were is also gone. If you just took Scotland away, you could say my ancestors were Scottish, but it would be very difficult for you to be like, I'm Scottish or I'm Welsh, because those places no longer exist. They start to fade over time, and we forget about that actually being a place and a person and a being. And so we have to remember that we all have this human need to identify ourselves by our places. And for First Nations, it's sacred sites, it's traditional hunting, fishing, trapping, and cultural, spiritual grounds. It's places where we sign treaty, And these are places that identify who we are. And we can't abandon them, because by abandoning them, we are abandoning who we are.
But in order to practice our tradition now, we have to have money. So the only way to get it is to go to work. To have the money. So there has to be a balance between oil sands and our way of living. It has to happen that way.